Hello everyone, this is Hakaym and welcome back to some more World of Warships, and today we are saying goodbye to the Tier 6 British battleship, the Queen Elizabeth. And honestly, I am definitely ready to move on. I've had probably the worst luck with this ship. I'm not saying that it's a bad ship, but I've had some issues, I guess you could say. But anyways, we are playing on New Dawn. We have a Hiryu, Ruho, Queen Elizabeth, New York, Texas, 2 Atlantis, Fiji, Nuremberg, Furutaka, 2 Fubukis on our team. On the enemy team, there is a Ranger, Ruho, New Mexico, Iron Duke, Pensacola, Indianapolis, Belfast, Cleveland, Galley, Nuremberg, Furutaka, and a Kamikaze. Now, you might be saying to yourself, what are you talking about? This ship's a great ship. It's fantastic. It's very, very similar to the Warspite. Yes, at times it is very similar to the Warspite. Probably my biggest issue is her AP. Her AP can confound me at times. It is just downright annoying. AP against, say, cruisers are pretty good. The HE is not as good as the Iron Dukes with the fire chance. But the AP is probably what annoys me the most about this ship. So first off, enemy galley is first one spotted. We are on the very northern side of New Dawn, which I do like. This map, I love this map. So enemy galley, let's see if we can get a hit. Now do keep in mind, whenever you are in the British battleships, you do have to give the lead a little bit more. Now unfortunately we do have a enemy kamikaze that is pushing quite heavily west. More than likely is trying to hope to get some torpedoes off. Our CVs are actually doing a really good job. They're keeping him spotted. Our AP is almost reloaded. Let's see. Now the AP is of the short fuse variety, and look at that, 4 over penetrations and 4,000 points of damage. So overall not too bad, but it does have a short fuse. So when you are hitting these lightly armored I almost said vehicles, lightly armored ships, you do have the potential of getting actual penetration, especially against destroyers, is very, very beneficial. AP is almost reloaded, but unfortunately the kamikaze does disappear. Now we are currently being spotted by the enemy planes, and there is, I believe, a Belfast, a Galley, a Cleveland, and a Furutaka all up there. Now, and hopefully you guys are not hearing that in the background. Good lord. Have some noisy neighbors apparently. So the AP against cruisers, like I said, against cruisers, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. For example, enemy Cleveland. Watch this salvo. I'm impressed with this salvo. I really, really am. Now, obviously, I'm going to try to pull away because there are 4 cruisers over there. But any moment now. Devastating strike. 3 citadels. 1 dead Cleveland. I'm very happy with that salvo. Very, very nice. Alright, so just to, for whatever reason, prove me wrong with this AP, with this ship, let's take a look at the Furutaka. Gonna show us a broadside, kind of blind salvo. Unfortunately, it does disappear right at that moment. And guess what? Cool guys don't look at explosion. 2 citadels and another devastating strike. So just keep in mind, as we are going to try to turn around, and this is probably another thing, so as the turrets do take a very, very long time for it to actually turn, so you do have to plan well in advance when you're going to be turning your turrets. You almost want to turn your turrets before you turn your ship, because they take such a long time to turn. Shots off at the galley, and unfortunately go a little bit low, so unfortunately no citadel, but that would have been nice. That would have been hilarious to get a 3rd devastating strike after those 2. And so keep this in mind. I've had probably about 7 or so battles with the Queen Elizabeth today, and I've had terrible teams. I've had teams that make the worst decisions in the world, and essentially it just cost us. And then also facts, the Queen Elizabeth doesn't do that well against much higher tier battleships, say tier 8, for example. It can be done. You just have to be in a very good position where you can use your HE. And the HE, like I said, is actually fairly good. It has good damage output. The fire chance may not be as good as, say, the Iron Duke, but it still has a 35%. So as far as the HE is concerned, not too bad. But we destroyed one of the galley's guns. Not too bad, not too bad. Unfortunately, we're going to have to dodge this island. And this is a nice thing. The turn of circle radius is pretty decent. 680 meters, so you're able to make those very tight turns very, very quickly. Let's see. Let's see if we can finish this galley off once and for all. And unfortunately for us, we lose 2 of our back turrets to that island. But I think we're in luck. Another citadel and another dead cruiser. So, just for whatever reason, this one battle wants to prove me wrong. But probably another thing I've been noticing, and at times, as you could see, that dispersion was pretty decent on all 3 of those cruisers with those citadels. But there's been times where I've had downright crappy dispersion with these shells. Look at that. That actually 1 shell hit on that Iron Duke. And it's been kind of an annoyance for me. Maybe it's due to the fact that I play higher tier battleships, and they generally have a much better dispersion than any of the other, or than lower tier battleships, which I understand completely. Now, the one nice thing about the Queen Elizabeth is she does have a spotting plane, and I really want to kill this Iron Duke off. He's so low in health, and you don't want to leave a ship this low on health alive, because with a battleship can heal. So you want to take him out. You want to take away the potential damage that he could offer with his main guns. So my focus right now is trying to take out this Iron Duke. There is a Belfast, which is a very, very tempting target, especially right now with this broadside that he is showing. And unfortunately for me, I did not gauge that he was actually starting to slow up, so he was able to at least survive for a little bit longer. Now the enemy Belfast has gone down. The enemy team is not doing so hot right now. I don't want to say they've been kind of just, you know, lollygagging around, but probably this is going to be the only instance that we actually see any planes is the fighters around here. Now, Kamikaze did get spotted for a second. Did sent some shots off, hoping that I would be able to get him. And unfortunately, I do not, but that's alright. Alright, so AA, like I probably should actually point out, is really good. The AA, I've had instances facing off against Hiryu. Can shoot them down, and A is not bad. And keep in mind that I don't actually have AFT or BFT on my Queen Elizabeth on the Jack Dunkirk captain, so his AA is not fully opted or fully maxed out as you can go. So if you kept the Queen Elizabeth, also look at that. I think I aimed a little bit low on there, but AA's pretty good. Can shoot down tier above. Granted, it is generally your short range AA that's going to work the best. Long range AA is not too bad. But if you do get a lot of HE on your ship, it does have that potential of actually destroying your AA mounts. And there we go. Finally took out the Iron Duke. AP's pretty good. But so the reason why I don't like the AP is due to the fact that against broadside battleships, it is very, very difficult to get citadels. better yet, probably due to the fact that if it's close range, it's very, very difficult to get citadels. Now, if it's plunging fire, you're more likely to get citadels than if it was not the case. Now, our team is starting to cap. The enemy team only has 4 ships left, and I am on kill number 4. I am very, very close to Kraken, and I would like a Kraken, and there is a Ranger that is ripe for the picking. Can we get our Kraken? Granted, I have not done a lot of damage against this Ranger, but 1 dead Ranger is fewer planes, and there we go. Kraken unleashed. Very, very nice. Yes, granted, I did kind of steal that kill. Did actually very little damage against that Ranger, but we got our Kraken, and he can no longer get his planes down on us. Now, our team is well, they're going to decide to cap out. Pensacola captain is well aware that he's a Pensacola and is very cautious, showing that broadside. As soon as he sees my salvo goes out, he instantly turns in. Now, honestly, I probably should have just stuck with HE. Probably would have done a little bit more damage. Not saying that you would be not able to penetrate through the nose of Pensacola, but honestly, getting fires probably would have done a little bit more damage. But as far as damage-wise is concerned, not too bad. 104k, 2 devastating strikes, first blood, and a Kraken unleashed. I'm very satisfied with this game, and we are going to cap out, but might as well get some additional damage in as well. So, there we go. Not a bad game. So our team earned a victory by capping out the enemy team. We brought home 340,594 silver, 2,986 XP, and 150 free XP. 2 devastating strikes, 1 Kraken Unleashed, first blood, and damage-wise, not too bad, 107,844. We did 6 citadels, 24 hits with our main guns, and 5 kills, obviously. We were top of the team with a base XP of 1,895. We did around 35,200. Essentially took out the Cleveland and Veritaka from full health, so overall, not too bad. The Iron Duke, we did around 16,000, and the Galley, we did around 15,000. The Ranger, yeah, we only did around 1,500, but it was a kill. Kill secure. So we're good on that. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and jump into the port and talk about the ship and her stats and take a look from there. So see you guys there. Alright everyone, welcome back to the port. And I will have to say, I really don't like the Queen Elizabeth. Maybe it's just me. I mean, like that previous replay that I did show you guys. Yeah, I mean, she's a great cruiser killer. Fantastic. I mean, multiple citadels on those cruisers there, but just for whatever reason, I've had the worst luck. And it really comes down to the guns. Maybe it comes down to the RNG, because for whatever reason, I have the weirdest dispersion with the Queen Elizabeth. And maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just my luck, because my luck is quite terrible. But I've just had the worst luck. I haven't had a very fun experience with the Queen Elizabeth. Probably similar to the lines of the Bayern, I would have to say, as far as it's rememberable, or better yet, that I remember. It's just, I don't know, for whatever reason, me and this ship just does not get along. But let's actually take a quick look at the stats. Survivability, 55,300. She has about 2,000 points less than the Fuso. That's kind of normal for British battleships. They generally have much smaller health pool than the other tiers of the same, or other battleships of the same tier. So you do have to be well aware that you do have to be careful, because yes, the Queen Elizabeth's armor is not bad. The Citadel sits below the water. The guns can... well, actually, I don't think I've ever experienced my guns getting knocked out all that often. The armor plating is not too bad, 152 millimeters. This is even slightly angled. But you still can get those random citadels. But for all our armor is concerned, not bad. But I think the major issue as far as her survivability is the torpedo protection damage. It is 24%. Not particularly the greatest in the world. Fuso has 36%, and I think the Mutsu is just as bad. Yes, it is. So torpedo protection, not the greatest in the world. Do have to be weary of any torpedoes that are coming your way. But let's actually talk about the guns, because I think the guns are where I have the biggest issue. So first off, reload time is 30 seconds, which is not bad, which is actually fairly normal for a ship of this battleship of this tier. 30 seconds, not too bad. Turn time on guns is 51.4 seconds. Now, do keep in mind that I do have Jack Dunkirk on my British battleships, and he does have the special skill of the expert marksman, which instead of 0.5 degrees per second, it is in fact 1 degree per second. So without that additional 0.5, the gun turrets just turn very, very slowly, and even with that skill, they feel like they turn very, very slowly. The Fuso, even though the Fuso on that I have here, actually let's throw my Fuso captain back onto the Fuso itself. So let's quickly do that, just so you kind of have an idea when you compare it to the Fuso. Turn time on the guns is 46.2 seconds, and that's not with a battleship captain of a special type. That's just a normal captain, so the guns turn incredibly slow, very, very similar to the Warspite in a lot of ways. The max range is 17.1 kilometers, which isn't too bad, but the dispersion at that range is 212, and the British battleships are supposed to have very, very, I believe, low signal value, which I believe might be mistaken, so do correct me if I'm wrong. Will mean that they will have a much lower vertical dispersion when firing the guns, which is good. You want low vertical dispersion. Now, the max HE damage is 6,300, which is good. I mean, it's not bad. Fuso, let's actually take a look at the Fuso. And keep in mind, the Fuso has more guns than the Queen Elizabeth. So there's more potential damage that the Fuso can give whenever firing its main guns. Now, the main guns on here are 381, which is obviously bigger than the Fuso. So the max damage is going to be bigger than the Fuso, but the Fuso has more guns. So max HE damage 6,300. Chance to fire is 35%. The Iron Duke actually has a better fire chance than the Queen Elizabeth at 40%. So fire starter is still pretty good, but honestly, the Iron Duke does a better job as far as starting fires. The max AP damage, I think this is where I have probably the most annoyance with the Queen Elizabeth, is her AP. And it is the special type of AP where it has a very short fuse, which means that as normal AP penetrates armor, it begins basically a detonation. It has a fuse. And so when the normal battleship goes through so much amount of armor, it will explode. So if it's hitting like destroyers, which are thinly armored and very small, generally you get over penetrations. With the Queen Elizabeth AP, when you hit destroyers, you'll actually get the full penetration value, but that comes at a cost, and that comes at a cost as how good of a penetration and how much damage you can actually penetrate into, say, broadside battleships. I've had multiple occasions where, even against a Congo, and keep in mind, Congo's not that thickly armored, 5 kilometers away, and could not sit a broadside Congo to save my life. And it was extremely frustrating, like completely broadside, and could not citadel this Congo at all, and it was downright annoying. So that's probably my biggest issue. But as you saw there, against cruisers, not that bad. I mean, broadside target, their armor is not as thick as battleships, so you can get those citadels. But that's probably where I have the most issue with the Queen Elizabeth. So I guess the idea is to fire HE at battleships and fire AP at cruisers. Her secondary guns aren't bad. They're not the Warspite version. You have 10 dual 114 millimeters. They have a 5-second reload time. Max damage is 1700 with an 8% fire chance and a 4.2 kilometer range. One little side note back on the guns. They fire at 731.5 meters per second. Which does mean that you do have to offer a lot of lead to land your shells. So do keep that in mind when you are using these guns. Moving on to AA defense, the AA is actually pretty good. I would say it's comparable to the New Mexico. AA is pretty good. Granted, I don't have AFT or BFT on this captain, so you could definitely improve the AA defense on the ship if you do have those. But overall, not too bad. You have 14 single 20 millimeters. They have an average damage of 50 with 2 kilometer range. Then you have 4 dual 20 millimeters. Average damage is 24 with a 2 kilometer range. Then you have 4 octo 40 millimeters, 70 average damage and a 2.5. And in your secondaries offer additional long range AA. Average damage is 89 with a 5 kilometer range. So AA is not bad. You can shoot down tier 7 CVs, which I have done. So especially if you do spec your captain to where it is designed, or better yet, better suited for a defense, you can do a really good job. So impressed with the AA. That's one thing I will have to give the Queen Elizabeth. Maneuverability. Max speed is kind of average. It's actually kind of in the middle. It's not as slow as the New Mexico, but it's not as fast as, say, the Fuso. So kind of average, kind of in the middle. 23.5 knots. Turning circle radius is nice, 680 meters. Very, very, very short ship, which does allow it to turn, although the rudder shift time is 15.3 seconds compared to, say, the Fuso has 12 seconds. So that rudder shift time does become slightly of a hamper. So do be aware that does take you a little bit of time just to alter your direction. All right, moving on to concealment. This is probably another good thing about the British battleships is their concealment. Detectability range by sea is 12 kilometers. So very, very nice. Makes you definitely sneakier. Is beneficial because your range is actually shorter than the other tier 6 battleships. So you can get a little bit closer before opening up. Detectability range by air is 9.8 kilometers. Once again, not too bad. But let's actually take a look at the upgrades and modules. So the upgrades, really, you can pretty much choose whichever one, honestly. Really comes down to what you would prefer. I would say probably getting the range and then the propulsion and then eventually the hull upgrade, which does offer you additional AA mounts and increased health. But I like having that additional range just so you're able to actually land your targets at further range without having to get as close as you need to. As far as the mods, main armaments mod 1 is probably going to be better for later. You could, I guess, technically get auxiliary armaments, but it's pretty much suited for later tiers. Then I have gone for aiming systems mod 1, just decrease that dispersion. You could, I guess, technically go for a guns mod 2. I would not recommend it, honestly. I think you're almost better off getting just the aiming mod 1. Now, I have gone for DamCon system mod 1 and 2. Just makes the Queen Elizabeth that much more tankier, which is very, very beneficial because she's not that quick and she can't always get out of a pickle. So make it tanky. That's kind of my thought. As far as Jack Dunkirk, I don't think a lot has changed. I think the only additional skill I got on the Jack Dunkirk captain is Adrenaline Rush. Just increases your reload rate for every percentage of health that you have lost. Obviously, he does have the bonus to the Expert Marksman and also Jack of all trades. So these are very, very beneficial for the British battleships. We'll see how it is later on. But anyway, I am going to say goodbye to the Queen Elizabeth. And as far as I've heard, I haven't heard good things about the KGV or the Monarch. So hopefully they're not as bad as some people say, but we'll see. We'll see how things go. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. And if you like what you saw, hit the like and subscribe button. You guys have a great and fantastic day. Zaijian.